Thank you so much for joining me tonight. As Daniel mentioned, we are going to be working with rescued food. It's provided by Food for Life. So we are going to be making a fresh fruit salad with honey lemon mint dressing. And we'll also be pairing that up with a tea biscuit. Okay, so we'll get started on our tea biscuit first. There was a recipe provided on the website. So what you're going to do, I've already made actually a batch here. So just because I have some tips for you for how to properly cut. Okay. Hi, everybody. Okay, so what we're going to be doing first is we're going to be doing our tea biscuits. So in the recipe, there was, let me just adjust my mask here. There are 2 cups of flour, a tablespoon of sugar, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then you're going to mix that all together in a bowl. Okay. Was everybody able to find the recipe online?
That's a great question. Yeah, so if folks can direct themselves on the Town of Oakville website, even if you're watching this and for future dates. So if you go to oakville.ca and search virtual programs, each Monday before our Wednesday sessions, Chef Laura shares the ingredients and the recipe. How perfect. We have some printed off from Grace and Scarlett. So you can actually cook alongside Chef Laura as we do this session each Wednesday evening.
Okay.
It looks like Grace and Scarlett are joining us again with cooking or baking, which is wonderful.
Great. So then you're just going to put in your dry ingredients first. And then you're going to put in your sugar and your salt and 3 teaspoons of baking powder. When you are measuring your leavening agents, your baking powder, you want to make sure that it's completely level on your spoon. And then good job. And then once you put in your salt, then you can give your ingredients a mix in the bowl. And the reason that you're mixing your dry ingredients actually is so that you don't get any specific areas with salt or baking powder.
So if any of the other guests joining us this evening are actually cooking alongside Chef Laura, feel free to turn your camera on. When I mentioned that the session is being recorded, you will only be in the recording if you verbalize. So if your microphone is activated while your camera is on. So if you want to show Chef Laura what you're doing, or if you want to join in, you can turn your camera on without being in the recording.
Looks good. Okay, so once you have your dry ingredients mixed, you're going to have 1/2 cup of butter. And I like to use unsalted butter because we've already put our butter or salt into the mix. Thanks, Grace. Looks good. So then you're going to put your butter into your flour mixture. It's kind of like how we made the pastry dough. So you're going to put it in and you're going to break it apart with your fingers. So you're going to put the butter into your flour. That's right. Roll up your sleeves. Good job. I like to put my butter into small cubes before I put it in my butter. It just is a little bit easier to break up. So you're using cold butter, unsalted butter. If you don't have unsalted butter, sorry, let me just fix this. Then you can use salted butter, but it's you just have to decrease the salt in your recipe. Daniel?
Yes, Chef Laura.
Is it okay to take off my mask if I'm the only person in the kitchen?
Yes, yes, of course. Yeah, for those of you watching, so we do prepare with our masks, but Chef Laura is in the kitchen independently, so Please feel free.
Thank
And
you.
while you do so, we should give a special shout out to our friends at Food for Life here in Halton. So when we speak about rescued food, Food for Life is one of the larger distributors of rescue food in Halton. So this can be food programs, community food banks. Really, they're ensuring that food that would otherwise be directed to waste is directed back into families. So the food that Chef Laura is cooking with today is provided from Food for Life, and it is rescued. So it was diverted from waste, and now we're enjoying it, as are many families in Oakville who access Food for Life's program. So thank you very much to them and all they do in Oakville. Much appreciated.
Okay. So once you have your butter mixed into your flour mix and it looks like coarse meal, like little peas, then you are ready to add your milk. So we need 3/4 a cup of milk. So when you add your milk, you want to mix just until combined. It's going to be a bit of a sticky mess. There we go. So yep, all 3/4 all in. It's perfect helping. Yep, you can just pour it all in, Scarlett. There you go. Perfect. Okay, so when you're mixing, you just want to mix it until it comes together. And then if you want to turn it out onto your table, then you can do that as well if it's easier than doing it in the bowl. So you can take a little bit of your flour and you can dust your work surface. It's a bit sticky. So feel free to put a little bit of flour too on your hands. And then also, whenever you're making something that needs to be put into the oven, it's important to always preheat your oven too. So these are going to be baked at 450 degrees for about 12 to 15 minutes. Okay, so then you can put your dough out onto your counter, even if it has some dry bits. And we still might need the flour.
So Chef Laura, I'm just going to say, for folks that are coming in and joining our presentation today, if you're experiencing any technical difficulties, because I am seeing some people come in and out, please feel free to write me in the chat, or you can send me an email directly to affordablea@oakville.ca, all one word, affordablea@oakville.ca, or just write in the chat, and I'd be happy to troubleshoot you so you can enjoy our session and future sessions.
Okay, so if you have a lot of dough on your hands, you can put a little bit of flour on your hands and rub them together to get some of the dough off. And then when you're just going to gently knead your dough, like maybe 3 or 4 times, and then that would be it onto your counter. Okay. That looks really good. Okay, so then you'll have a little bit of a ball of dough. Perfect. Grace and Scarlett, that looks amazing. So that's perfect. Okay, so now you want to put a little bit of flour on your work surface. Okay. Okay, and then you have your ball of dough here. So let's just pretend mine's a big ball. You're going to want to do a gentle press down of your dough. Perfect. And then you can use your rolling pin, and we don't need to roll it thin. Okay, so we're just going to be rolling out to maybe about an inch thickness. So just making sure that it's even. So I'll just show you about that thick.
Are you applying any pressure, Chef, or are you really just?
Yeah, just very minimal pressure. So you just want to make sure that it's an even thickness. All right. Sorry, Grace, let's see. That's good. You are good to go. All right. So we are going to use just a round cutter. If you don't have a round cutter, you can always use a glass as well, or the top of a mason or the mason jar or whatever. Yep, that's perfect. So the trick to cutting biscuits is that you're actually going to be pushing your cutter. Great. Good job. So you're going to be pushing your cutter straight down and then back up. No twisting, okay? No twisting your cutter. So just straight down and up. Okay. If it doesn't come out, you can just use, there you go. All right. And then we're going to be putting them on a parchment lined baking tray. Okay, so good job. So just again, just straight down and up. When you twist your cutter, it actually seals the edges, so you won't get any lift to your biscuit. Okay, and we've got our oven preheated to 450. And then also, I like to put my biscuits on the tray. I like to have mine all together, and that makes nice soft sides on your biscuits. If you like your edges to be crispy, then you would separate them on your tray. Okay. And then when you have leftover dough, you can just kind of piecemeal it back together. They're not going to look as pretty as your originals, but they're still going to be delicious. Okay, so I'm just going to piecemeal these ones together so I have another little disc. And then I'm going to go back with my cutter and again, just pressing down and up, no twisting. And then the more you rework a dough, the tougher it gets. So it won't be as tender when you bite. So try not to work your dough too much. And then sometimes you get to this little bit. You're like, well, I don't know what to do with that. But I just kind of form it into a little biscuit and put it on the tray. Because trust me, you don't want to waste any of these. These are delicious. Just going to take this off here.
Great. Now you had mentioned earlier, Chef, about just how the different types of milk you can use might lead to browning more or browning less, depending on what people are looking for. Maybe you could, I know I benefited from the information, but maybe folks might be interested.
Yeah, so if you are in a dairy-free home or have a dairy-free diet, feel free to use a milk alternative, almond milk, coconut. We use oat milk at home, and it still yields a very great product. If you don't have milk and you have some cream for your coffee, then you can use that as well. Just use maybe half a cup of cream and then just add a little bit of water to it. Because there's it's the lactate in the milk that adds the color to your baked goods, so it will brown when you have a heavier fat content. But you can also put a little bit of a milk wash on top of your biscuits, and that will also help with a little bit of browning. Looks great, girls. All right, so let me pop these in the oven at 450 degrees. I'll be right back.
So as Chef Laura runs to the oven, I think it would be really, really helpful for us as we look towards future weeks of For the Love of Cooking. If anyone has any recipe suggestions, so usually each week we sort of get together and we think of what might be fun. And so far we've done apple pie, we've done gnocchi. Today we're doing a little bit of rescued food, but we're always interested in talking about what to do next. So if you have a family recipe or if you have a great idea, we would really, really love to hear from you. So if you are on this call, on this presentation live, please feel free to write in the chat. If you're watching this at a later date on our YouTube channel, you can email to public.art@oakville.ca. So public.art@oakville.ca, and that's where you can submit your recipe suggestions. I see one from Tanya is for pizza. If you have a good recipe or maybe a suggestion of a kind of pizza that you think might be neat, all ears.
And don't forget to set your timer.
What was the time on that?
I always like to set it for a little bit early, so we'll set it for 12 minutes, and then we'll do an eye check, and then if we need more time, we can add more time.
Great.
Okay, so when, oh, sorry, Daniel.
No, I'm just seeing Shayna B has wrote soup that freezes well. And then Tanya's also written cinnamon rolls, which I agree are delicious. But soup that freezes well is actually something we were talking about for next week, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a great suggestion, as are cinnamon rolls.
That is a great suggestion. Okay, so when you are cleaning your workstation, I like to use a bench scraper. So you can use that to take out all of your flour off your table, and then you can put it into the garbage. If you don't have a bench scraper, that's fine too. You can just use a dry cloth, okay? So dry cloth only. And then when you are cleaning your rolling pin, so you don't put this in water, right? Because it's wood. So we're just going to use a dry cloth that you can wipe off, okay? And if you have any bits on there, you can just use a butter knife, or you can use a spoon to get any kind of dough off your rolling pin. There you go. Nice work, Scarlett. All right. So then we're going to clean off our pin, and then it'll be ready for the next time. Oh, a nice sharp knife. Good. All right. So are you guys ready to start our fruit? Okay. Everyone's cleaned up? Okay. So remember, ooh, that's a nice persimmon. All right, so we're going to use our wet cloth again onto our counter, and then our cutting board will go on top. Okay, everybody ready? So we're going to do our dressing first. So whenever I make a garden salad or a fruit salad, I always like to just put my dressing already into the bowl, and then I add my fruit on top of that because it's a little bit easier to mix, and then I don't have to dirty another bowl. Okay, so in this recipe, we're going to put in about 2 tablespoons of honey. Perfect. And I'm just going to eyeball it. But if you want to measure, then you can certainly do that. And I love honey, so if there's a little bit of extra in there, I'm not going to mind.
I was going to say that's a heavy 2 tablespoons.
Okay. And if you don't have just like a liquid honey, you can always use a creamed honey, or you can use a cinnamon honey. all nice. Okay, so then to our dressing, we are going to add the juice of half of a lemon. Okay. So when you have your lemon cut, what I like to do is I actually just squeeze over my hand, and then that hopefully catches any seeds that might be trying to escape.
Chef, is there any preference or suggestion around cutting like down the middle of the lemon or across the middle of the lemon?
I just cut across, straight
Okay.
across. And that's a little bit easier too. Even if you have a citrus reamer, it's usually one of those wood tools.
Yeah.
If you don't have one, you can actually just use a spoon, and then you can just put the spoon right into your lemon, and that also gets out any extra juice. So you don't need any fancy tools. Okay, so then once you have those things in your bowl, then we're going to give it a quick whisk. I'm just going to move this a bit closer to me so it's a bit easier. So this is a great salad because it really just uses everything that you might have already in your home. If you don't have honey, not a big deal. You can use maple syrup, or you could use lime juice instead of lemon, or you could use orange juice instead of lemon or lime. If you have none of the above, you can actually make a simple syrup. And a simple syrup is just equal parts water and equal parts white sugar. And you just bring it to a boil on the stove. Just wait for it to cool down, and then you could add it to your fruit salad as well. Okay, so we've got our dressing ready to go. Perfect. So we have got lots of fruit here today. This is so lovely of them to give us so much variety. So we've got our persimmon. These ones are called Fuyu persimmon. These ones tend to be a little bit more sweet. There's actually two main types of persimmon. So there is an astringent and a non-astringent. So this is a non-astringent. This is what you would like to use. They do have another variety that looks like an acorn, and that one is, if it's not perfectly ripe or even overripe, it's very, very sour, very not pleasing on the palate. So if you can find these ones, these are great for fruit salads. Some of the other varieties are better for things like purees. Okay, so with this one, you don't have to peel it if you don't want to. I prefer to have it peeled. You can actually eat it like an apple if you prefer. But I'm just going to give this one a quick peel. And then we'll put it into our fruit salad. Now, persimmons are a fall fruit that originated in Japan. And they've made their way here and are quite popular. These ones are actually really high in vitamins A, B, and C, and potassium, and a good source of dietary fiber. Okay. So once we have these peeled, I just like to cut it right in half. Okay. And then I'm going to use a little paring knife just to take off the end papery piece. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of make, you know how you might core a tomato. Okay, so just make a little slice and a slice, and then it comes right out. Whoops, oh, I got to fly away.
Nice.
All right, let me peel another one here.
Grace and Scarlett, have you guys ever had persimmon before? No? I tasted one before. I'd be curious to know what you guys think. I thought it was very delicious in the fruit salad, but there was a mixed jury on persimmons on their own.
Thank you. All right, just gonna peel another one here.
Okay.
All
Thumbs
right.
up, thumbs up or down? I think I just saw thumbs up. Okay.
Perfect.
Good.
Awesome. So when you are cutting these, they sometimes have little pits in them that are brown. So the little seeds, so we don't want those ones, okay? So we'll just not include those, but you can cut these up anyway. So you can cut them up like you would an apple, okay? But I think what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna just do some slices like so, and then I'm going to cut them into some bite-sized pieces. So a good way to do that is that you can actually stack your fruit slices on top of each other and do 2 at a time. Okay. And I'm going to cut up a few, so you take your time with your cutting. Okay. And then persimmons, actually, you can use these in a lot of different recipes. You can make a puree and add it to muffins, or you can have it in a fruit salad. You can make fruit jellies or fruit paste. You can actually even roast them in the oven with a little bit of honey. Okay, so we're just going to cut into bite-sized pieces. I can smell my biscuits baking in the oven. They smell delicious. Okay, so persimmon is done. Okay, everybody good? I have 20 seconds left on my timer, so you continue cutting and I'll be right back.
I'm pretty far down the hall, but I can still smell fresh biscuits. Hopefully everyone's living room is smelling as good as the Queen Elizabeth Park Community Center is right now.
Okay, so I'm going to put my timer on for another 2 minutes. Okay, so moving on, let's look at our pear. So we're going to cut our pear the same way. So even if you want to cut a little bit off the bottom so that it sits nice and flat on your cutting board, it might make it a little bit easier. Okay, so we're just going to use a little bit of pear. Okay, and I'm just going to again cut it into some slices here. And then I will just cut my slices into some bite-sized pieces. And then put them right into the bowl. And remember, practicing cutting is just that, just all practice. But it's best to just be careful when you're first learning. Okay, so in this recipe, I think we'll just use half a pear because I really want to show you guys how to properly get the seeds out of a pomegranate. Okay, so next we're going to cut up some apple the exact same way. So if you cut off the one side of your apple, then you've got a nice flat surface on your cutting board. Okay, so we'll just put in some apple here. And again, we're just going to cut it into some bite-sized pieces. Okay. Sorry, I know I'm cutting a little bit fast, but you guys take your time. Grace, take your time.
No one's panicking yet. Oh, they have their pomegranate ready.
Great. Oh, you are waiting for me. That's amazing.
I think everyone's excited to make a mess, it seems.
Now let's get to it. All right, so when you have a pomegranate, you want to make sure that it's nice and red, that there's no visible blemishes. And then you will need Whoop, saved by the bell. Okay, 1 second.
No problem. I guess I should give fair warning that if anyone is about to prepare to cut a pomegranate, be sure that you are not wearing your favorite clothes. Pomegranates are notoriously messy when it comes to staining. So take this opportunity to be fair warned that if you love what you're wearing, make a consideration to maybe put on something different or an apron like Chef Laura has.
Yes, pomegranates do stain the counter and your kitchen closet and your clothes. Okay, so we've got a big bowl of water here. So it doesn't have to be hot, just cold water from the tap. And then what we're going to do is you've got this part of your pomegranate, the very top, which is called your crown. Okay, so what, oh, everyone's getting suited up. This is awesome. So what you're going to do when you have your pomegranate, you locate the crown, and then you're going to use a paring knife, and at 45-degree angle, you are going to just cut around the top here. Okay, can everybody see that? So it kind of looks like when you do your pumpkin for Halloween. Okay. Just going to dump out some of my juice here into my fruit salad bowl. Okay, so when you are looking at a pomegranate, I'll try and get really close, but you can see that there's actually kind of like little dividers in your pomegranate. So you just want to take your paring knife and you're just going to run your knife just very gently on those membrane linings, the markers on the inside of your pomegranate, if that makes sense. So you don't want to cut a deep line, just enough that when you can pry it open. Good job. So when you're at that point, then it's really easy to break apart like so. And then you're just going to be putting them in the bowl of water. Okay. I'm just going to try and tilt my bowl up here a little bit so that you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, so now that your pomegranate seeds or your pomegranate pieces are in the water, you can actually just use your fingers to break apart very gently the membrane here, and then the seeds will fall right out. So if you actually do that in the water, it's nice because what happens is the weight of the seed goes to the bottom and the pith and the membrane float to the top. Okay. It's a bit time consuming, but it's worth it. Now, pomegranate seeds you can put in salads, you can put on top of your yogurt, you can put it in your smoothies. You can make a pomegranate reduction or a pomegranate molasses, they call it. And that can go in marinades or on chicken, or you can also put it in cocktails or mocktails. And they do freeze. So if you did want to put them in the freezer for smoothies at a later time, you can totally do that too.
And how, Chef Laura, how long will the pomegranates last fresh in your refrigerator?
Like whole or seeded?
Seeded.
Seeded, I would say maybe about 4 days.
4 days? It looks like it's quite the yield. Like there is quite a bit of pomegranate seeds that you get out of it. So it may be worth the work.
Yes, and actually it doesn't take that long when you're practiced. So you can kind of see I've got membrane and pith kind of floating at the top, and all my seeds are at the bottom. So I won't do a ton because you guys got to see that part. Okay, So then again, all the seeds are at the bottom. So with this bit on the top, you can either pick it out with your fingers, or if you have a strainer, you can also use that. Okay, so I am going to use a strainer or a colander you can use, and I'm just going to drain my seeds from the water.
There's a question in the chat. I think you mentioned, Chef Laura, that the seeds can be frozen.
Yes.
Great.
They're not good to go back on a salad if you bring them back to fridge temperature. It would be more used for a smoothie.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So then all I've got left here are my seeds. Okay. Put these in here just for now. Work on that a bit later. All right. And then when you're ready, you can put some of your seeds in here into your fruit salad. A couple handfuls. All right. And then what we're going to add, the last step, is we are going to add some fresh mint. And this adds such a great, refreshing aftertaste. It really emphasizes the flavors of the persimmon. It's just lovely. If you don't have mint, that's okay. You could maybe try and use some basil. Or nothing. Okay, so then we're just going to give our mint a rough chop. This is a perfect salad too for the next day, but no longer than that. The persimmon tends to get a little bit soft. So I would suggest it's always better to have it the next day as the flavors get to marry a little bit. But the persimmon does go quite soft. So the day after is great, but after that, not so much. Okay. And we're just going to give this a stir. We'll get a plate. Right. Make sure we get all of that goodness on the bottom. Maybe we'll just put this on a side plate, or you can put it in a bowl with your biscuit. Okay, let's see here. Let me get a side plate here. Okay, everyone's good with their mixing? Everybody's doing okay? I'm going to move my cutting board. All right, and let me go get the biscuits. Did everyone get their biscuits out of the oven?
If not, it's too late.
We can enjoy them in a few minutes. All right. Doesn't that mint smell delicious in there? All right.
Now, as Chef Laura goes and grabs those biscuits, maybe if she can hear me, I know that you had made a pomegranate reduction just while you were preparing for this. So maybe that would be a kind of an interesting tidbit to explain how people how to do without walking through it all, obviously.
Perfect. I'll quickly actually show how to do that, get that started.
Sure.
Here, so why don't we do this? Let's do this first. Okay, so we've got our nice biscuits. Okay, nice and flaky. You can see how they just pull apart. Yum, yum. All right, so we'll put those on our plate. And then you can spoon out your fruit salad. Make sure you get some of the juice at the bottom, okay? Because that's like the best part. Okay, and then So this is the pomegranate reduction I made. So this is actually just using the seeds, and we're gonna pulse them in the blender, and then we're gonna reduce it on the stove. And so it becomes kind of a nice thick glaze. So this can actually be used in with like sparkling water. You can use it in cocktails. You can use it in Shirley Temples. You can use this on top of yogurt. You can pretty much use this for a lot of different things, like a marinade, or add it to a salad dressing. Also good on fish. So I'm just going to do a slight drizzle on top. Okay. And you've got a nice, quick, easy dessert. And then I'll quickly show you how to make the reduction. Okay.
People watching at home, don't be afraid to butter your biscuits.
Yes. All right, so blender, and then we've got our seeds. Okay, and this will last for a good 2 to 3 weeks in your fridge, okay? All right, so what we're gonna do, make sure the lid's tightly on. Okay, and then this just goes on top of your blender. Okay, so, and you're just gonna pulse it maybe 2 or 3 times, nothing more, because we don't want the bitterness of the seed to come out in our pomegranate molasses, okay? So we're gonna 1, 2, 3, and that's it. And then you're just gonna take a saucepan, or you could put it in a small saute pot. Whoops, what am I doing? And we're just going to strain the mixture into our pot that we're going to be using. So usually if you do the whole pomegranate, you should yield probably around 2 to 3 cups, believe it or not. Okay. And then if you wanted to, you could add some sweetener to this. So whether it be a little bit of honey or a little bit of sugar, white sugar, or you could use natural sugar. Okay. Oops, wrong one. Okay, so we're gonna put it over kind of like a higher heat, and then you let that reduce until it's about 1/3 of the original volume. Okay, and it will thicken as it cools. So if it still looks a little bit runny on your stove, that's okay. It will thicken once it cools down. Okay, so you can even add maybe 1 or 2 tablespoons of sugar to sweeten it up, or you can leave it as is.
Awesome.
How's everyone making out okay?
I'm seeing if anyone else is sharing. It doesn't look like we have any. Grace and Scarlett are always great at sharing what they're making. Probably because they're so talented at it and they're not afraid of embarrassing themselves. But folks, feel free, if you are preparing your food at home, to share with us either this week or next week. And I guess we can sneak peek to next week. So Chef Laura, based on our last conversations, we were leaning towards soup, and we did hear it. I think Shane had suggested that. So we're good with soup?
We are going to move forward to a savory hot soup next week. So that will be perfect for this kind of weather.
So we will have that in the recipe and menu then up online by Monday evening.
Yes.
Perfect.
It's going to be good.
Does anyone have any questions for Chef Laura before we let her go and enjoy what she's prepared? Okay.
I hope that you're going to go and enjoy what you prepared too.
Yes. Yeah, I'm very excited to get into some fruit salad, something I can enjoy. And thank you all for being here and joining us. Just a helpful reminder for those of you seeking some type of activity, tomorrow morning, as we do every morning after For the Love of Cooking with Chef Laura, we do a chair yoga class at 10 a.m. in the same location. So you just come here and participate with our virtual program instructor, Christine, for an hour of chair yoga. Followed that up tomorrow afternoon, we are doing a discussion of Oakville's history at 12 a.m. with myself and my partner, Nabil. So if you're looking for something to do tomorrow, please join us at 10 a.m. for chair yoga or at noon for a discussion of Oakville's deep history. We do hope you join us tomorrow, but of course, we hope you join us next week as we prepare some food with Chef Laura Strath on For the Love of Cooking. Chef Laura, thank you as always.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
We hope to see everyone next week. Enjoy your food.